welcome to CGTN's live streaming in Beijing. I'm Yuting, live from the Yuting State Guest House in Beijing. And you know that the Yuting State Guest House is a very ancient and traditional Chinese architecture and building complex here in Beijing. It is very significant and important place because it's a very important place housing the visiting foreign dignitaries, usually the foreign prime ministers and presidents will live here during their visit to China. And you know that today the Yuting State Guest House is going to witness another very important event held here in Beijing. That is the CPC in dialogue with world political parties high-level meeting. And as you can see behind me, the security guard is already being ready here to making the checkpoints for those visiting leaders from other world political parties and also senior officials and leaders from China. And today they will have more discussions and exchange ideas to tackle the development difficulties and challenges that the human being nowadays is now facing. And we know that today is a very important event. And yesterday, the opening ceremony of the dialogue has been held at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. And Xi Jinping, President and also General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee, has already made a keynote speech during the opening ceremony of the dialogue between the Communist Party of China and other world political leaders. And President Xi Jinping has highlighted the significance of the efforts to jointly building the community with the shared future for mankind and a better world. And that's also the theme of the dialogue of this CPC in dialogue with the world political parties high-level meeting. The theme of the dialogue is working together towards building a community with a shared future for mankind and a better world. That's the responsibility of the world political parties. And you know that this event is a historical one, and you may ask why it's so important and why it is a historical one. I will give you three firsts. That kind of three firsts have been emphasized by the deputy head of the International Department of the CPC Central Committee, Guo Yezhou. Guo Yezhou said during a press conference several days ago that there are three firsts indicating the significance of this event and this dialogue, because this is the first major multilateral diplomatic event hosted by China after the recently concluded the 19th CPC National Congress. And it's also the first time for the CPC to hold such a kind of high-level meeting with the various kinds of world political parties. And it's also the first meeting among leaders from world political parties with the most attendees. And I will give you some figures because up until now, there are about more than 600 leaders from about 300 political parties and organizations in 120 countries have already registered to attend this meeting. So it's a very important one. And I will just give you some highlights made by Xi Jinping, the General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee, yesterday during his keynote speech. Xi Jinping says that it's very important for China and also the world to working together to build the community with a shared future for mankind and also a better world. He emphasized that China will not export the Chinese development model, nor will import the foreign model of development. And he also said that China will not ask other countries to copy Chinese practices. So this is a very important signal sent by China. That means no matter how the political landscape and economic world global landscape may evolve or how strong China may become, China will never seek hegemony or expansion, and China will continue to play its role as the builder of world peace and also the contributor of the global development and also, you know, the defender of the international order. So that's all very important signals sent by Xi Jinping, the Chinese president and also General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee. And as we can see now, there are some of the delegates have already been entering into this very, very important room, and we may speak to some of them. Can you speak English? Yes, we are from China Central Television, China Global Television Network. We're doing a live streaming now, and may I ask you some questions? Because yesterday, Xi Jinping has already made a keynote speech at the opening ceremony of the dialogue between Communist Party of China and also other political parties. So could you please tell me what impressed you most of President Xi's speech?
Very good impressions from the speech of Mr. Xi Jinping. He noted that all world political parties should work together in order to obstacle all existing problems, because political parties play an important role in solving problems and in helping decision makers in order to adopt very important decisions. That's why this dialogue of political parties help very much in this process. And Mr. Xi Jinping's speech was very enthusiastic and very interesting, based on Eastern philosophy. He noted Confucius, big philosopher, Chinese philosopher, thinker, and who noted that all human beings should work together, and all human beings should work together in order to solve all problems worldwide. That's why here in this Congress, in this space, in dialogue with political parties, high-level meeting, political parties around the worldwide are together, and they are knowing each other, they are establishing contacts, they are sharing knowledge, sharing experience to each other. I think this is very important meeting. We are learning very much from our colleagues from other countries.
Well, that's really very important one, an inspiring speech.
Yeah.
And you know that one of the highlights during President Xi's keynote speech is that he emphasized a lot and reiterated many times on the joint efforts to build the community with a shared future for mankind. So how do you think that China and many other world political parties, together with CPC, will work together to realize that community with a shared future for mankind?
CPC play today a leading role among political parties of other countries. One of the leading role is played by CPC, and that's why Mr. Xi Jinping's speech was very, how can I say, very enthusiastic and very inspiring speech. I think we one more again should learn his speech, and all political parties from worldwide, other countries, not only to share experience but also contacts in order to work together, in order to establish cooperation with Chinese Communist Party. And this forum, number one forum worldwide, number one forum of political parties. Before, it was never had such forums. That's why this forum plays an important role.
Yes, indeed, and we think that it will provide us a very good platform for exchanges and cooperation in the near future to tackle the challenges that the whole human being is facing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your insights. Okay, see you then. Bye. We know that lots of the delegates have said that they are very impressed by Xi Jinping's keynote speech. And you know that Xi Jinping has emphasized a lot to build a community with a shared future for mankind and a better world. That's also the theme of this dialogue. And he also said that it's very important to institutionalize this dialogue, because it will just set up the mechanism of the dialogue and to make the dialogue one of the very influential one in the international platforms. And you know that these days another thing is also attracting global attention, and we would like to show you two posters. These are the two official posters here. You know that it use a very traditional element of the Chinese tea. The tea are the very creative element. It is skillfully applying the Chinese cultural tradition of drinking tea with friends, and it's also vividly reflects the theme of the theme of the dialogue this year. So it's a very, very inspiring and very beautiful official posters. We know that these days the event will be quite busy with a packed schedule, and you know that yesterday at the Great Hall of the People, Xi Jinping has made a keynote speech at the opening ceremony, and in yesterday's afternoon, the first plenary session of the meeting has already been held. And today, at the Yuting State Guest House, we will also witness various kinds of discussions among the Communist Party of China and also other political world parties. And this morning, there will be a seminar focused on new guiding theories introduced by the 19th National Congress. And you know that it's very significant for the people to know that Xi Jinping thought of socialism with Chinese characteristics in the new era. And we can see now there are lots of people still coming inside the hall, and they want to take a look at what's happening inside the Yuting State Guest House. And this afternoon there will be 4 different sessions held simultaneously, discussing how to build the governance and how to promote the governance, and also emphasized on building the Belt and Road Initiative, and also you know that to focus on the community with a shared future for mankind. And we also want to highlight the Belt and Road Initiative, because that initiative has been proposed by Xi Jinping in 2013, and you know that the Belt and Road Initiative refers to the Silk Road Economic Belt and 21st Century Maritime Silk Road, and which are very important ones that will boost the trade and infrastructure networks connecting China, Asia with Europe and Africa through land and maritime routes. And you can see that lots of people have been here today, and they're busy reporting and also interviewing some of the delegates. You can see now there are lots of people coming here today, and it's really attracts the global attention. And we have already, hello, nice to meet you. I'm Yuting from CGTN, China Global Television Network. We're doing a live streaming now. Could you please answer some of the questions for our live streaming? You know that yesterday Xi Jinping has already made a keynote speech at the Great Hall of People in Beijing. And could you please tell us, what do you think are the highlights and new ideas?
I think, first of all, this is very important what we are doing now. The idea of doing this dialogue is very important. And yesterday, what the President of China said about making this dialogue a constitution, organization, and not only one-time Congress, this is very important for the future. We are pleased to be here, and we congratulate all the Chinese people by the CPC 19th Congress, and we are very interested in the dialogue today, and talking about all the economic and political points.
Ask you which, okay, you're from Syria, right?
From Lebanon, and,
from
and
Lebanon.
Syria also, yes.
Okay.
Our party is in Lebanon and Syria, and part of the government in Syria and part of the government in Lebanon.
Well, we know that not only Syria and Lebanon, but also many places around the globe have now facing lots of crisis and war. And nowadays, the situation is very complicated, and we still need to build a community of shared future for mankind. So, what do you think that's a significance for your country and many other countries across the globe to tackle the challenges and developing the difficulties in the near future?
Of course, it's very important. I can give you an example. What China did during the crisis of Syria during the last 6-7 years, and what they did together with Russia and the United Nations by the veto many times. They made a very good step towards peace in Syria and in the area, because otherwise, if we can look backwards, and if that veto wasn't at the United Nations, I think the situation was in our countries much worse. So what China did was very important towards peace, towards humankind, towards the future of our countries. And I think, as your president said yesterday, we should be one family, the whole world should be one family, working together for a better future.
Yes, I also noticed that yesterday Xi Jinping said that we should work together to build the planet Earth into a harmonious family. So we'll be working together to achieve the world peace, stability and prosperity together. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Well, you know that the delegates from Syria just told me that he has been very impressed by Xi Jinping's keynote speech yesterday at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. And I want to mention that Xi Jinping has also emphasized that China has been actively participating in the process of the UN peacekeeping missions. Up until now, with 36,000 personnel have been dispatched, and already more than 2,500, around 2,506 people have been now located in 8 different locations around the globe in the peacekeeping missions. And we know that the foreign today, that is the Communist Party of China and the world, a new era will soon begin later in just a couple of minutes. And we know that the Congress report in the 19th National Congress has also mentioned the importance of the building of a community with a shared future of mankind. And in the report, it says that China called on people from all countries to participate in the building of a community with a shared future for mankind, and together to work an open, inclusive, clean and beautiful world that enjoys a lasting peace and universal security and common prosperity. So that's a mission by the CPC, the Communist Party of China, to make more contribution to world peace, development, prosperity, and also to make more new and greater contribution for the mankind. So with such a mission, we believe that the Communist Party of China is certainly to have many more friends in the future. And you know that everyone is now ready for this forum, and we will soon give you the latest information. And you know that our live streaming is broadcasted on various social platforms, including CGTN Facebook, CGTN Weibo, and also CGTN app, old version and new version, so it's quite a significant one. And later, Song Tao, the head of the international department of the CPC Central Committee, will soon deliver a keynote speech in the upcoming Communist Party of China and the world in the new era. So we will be very looking forward to that, and we will keep you updated on the latest information. And it's time for now, and it's time to say goodbye. I'm Yuting, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.